SETI has chased one question for more than half a century. Are we alone? Not in the philosophical sense, not in the poetic sense, in the hard, scientific, radio signal on your screen sense. Billions of dollars, hundreds of radio telescopes, and thousands of hours later, the answer has always been the same: static. Just noise. And then, in 2025, that silence finally cracked. Only a handful of scientists know the details, but the hints leaking out are enough to ignite the biggest question humanity has ever asked. Is first contact imminent? The story begins quietly, not with a dramatic blip on a telescope, but with a recalibration. SETI was preparing its new algorithms to work with next-generation receivers. These receivers can scan the sky 600 times faster than anything before them, breaking old limitations and opening the entire sky like an unlocked vault. The upgrade was routine. The results were not. One morning in January, a technician monitoring narrowband frequencies saw something she'd never seen. A spike. A clean, repeating spike that didn't match any known satellite, aircraft transponder, or natural source. It lasted just 11 seconds and came from a patch of sky with no recorded satellites and no scheduled spacecraft. It shouldn't have been there. At first, the team assumed it was interference. That's always the explanation. A phone tower, a military burst, a weather balloon, anything terrestrial masquerading as cosmic. They ran the usual filters, cross-checked ground interference logs, pulled satellite ephemeris data. Nothing matched. The signal was coming from deep space. But what made this different from every false alarm wasn't just its location. It was its structure. Natural radio waves drift. Stars wobble. Pulsars hum. But this signal held itself like a ruler. Not too wide, not too narrow, perfect. Something in the universe was transmitting in a way nature simply doesn't. The full panic didn't hit until they replayed the signal at high speed. A pattern emerged. Not random, not chaotic, structured. It wasn't language, not as we know it, but it wasn't noise. It was as if someone, or something, was compressing information in a way that looked eerily intentional. Word spread inside SETI, then to partner observatories. The Chinese Fast Telescope, the world's largest single-dish radio telescope, confirmed a faint trace on the same frequency, though weaker. The Meerkat Array in South Africa caught a second, shorter pulse 2 days later. Suddenly, this wasn't a glitch. This wasn't a fluke. This was a candidate. The public didn't hear about this immediately. They never do. Every candidate signal goes through layers of verification before anyone says the words alien intelligence. The 1977 WOW signal created decades of controversy. SETI wasn't about to repeat that mistake. But the difference in 2025 was simple. The tools had evolved. SETI's new machine learning detectors could outline the mathematical fingerprint of a signal, its uniqueness, its statistical improbability, its signatures of artificial origin. And this one scored higher than anything SETI had ever recorded. Inside SETI, scientists began referring to it with a quiet, almost superstitious nickname, Candidate Alpha. Not because they believed outright that it was alien, but because it behaved like the first domino in a chain no one could fully control. So they pointed every major radio dish they could at the coordinates and waited. Hours passed, then days. No repeat signal. The silence was deafening. For a moment, hope turned into disappointment until something stranger happened. Infrared telescopes picked up a flash near the source region, not bright enough to be a supernova, not consistent with a star flare. Something had changed out there, almost like a dim, controlled burst. A signature not of destruction, but of propulsion. That's when the speculation began. Was the signal a beacon? A navigation pulse? A message that accompanied movement? If Candidate Alpha came from something large, like a craft accelerating, SETI could be witnessing the first technological action by a non-human civilization ever captured by human instruments. Suddenly the question shifted from what is sending signals to what is heading toward us. Governments started to take interest. NASA doubled radio time budgets. The Pentagon quietly dispatched liaison officers to SETI labs. The European Space Agency scheduled emergency cross-observatory coordination meetings. And yet, the public still didn't know why. All they knew was that something was stirring in the scientific world, something no one wanted to speak about openly. Then the leak happened. An internal memo from a SETI analyst circulated online for 48 hours before it was removed. The memo referenced a statistically significant non-terrestrial signal candidate, and probability-weighted models for artificial origin. It also mentioned the phrase that sent the internet into meltdown: preliminary first contact protocols. Within hours, the world split into two camps: believers, who were convinced SETI had found aliens and was hiding proof; skeptics, who dismissed everything as misinterpreted noise. But the real truth was more complicated. SETI didn't know what they had found yet. They only knew they had never seen anything like it. The protocol language in the memo wasn't dramatic, just a standard reference to what any responsible observatory does when faced with a signal that may be artificial. But once enough scientists were pressured to comment, the story broke open. SETI confirmed the existence of Candidate Alpha. Suddenly, every major network, podcast, and social media page exploded. Space Twitter went nuclear. Astronomers were dragged onto live broadcasts for emergency interviews. People wanted answers. SETI gave only one: "We have detected an intriguing narrowband signal inconsistent with known natural or human-made sources. Verification is ongoing." And that's when the world realized something bigger. SETI would not go public unless they were genuinely uncertain or genuinely worried. They hadn't been this cautious since the original WOW signal nearly 50 years ago. But Candidate Alpha was stronger, cleaner, more structured, and the technology in 2025 was far more advanced. Over the next month, observatories worldwide collaborated. They created a sky monitoring grid running 24/7. The uncertainty was agonizing. And then, when no one expected it, the sky answered again. A second signal, shorter, tighter, and even more precise than the first, like someone correcting their aim. This time, the signal exhibited drift. Not random drift, but calculated frequency movement consistent with a source that was not standing still. If you tracked the drift backward, the source was accelerating, moving toward a star system 11 light-years from Earth. Not toward Earth, but also not away from it. Just traveling through space, sending pulses as it moved, like a lighthouse turning across a dark ocean. This changed everything. If the signals were tied to propulsion or navigation, then whatever transmitted them was likely a craft. Not a natural object, not a star or pulsar, and certainly not a satellite. Something technological was moving across the local bubble of the Milky Way, and humanity had just noticed. Scientists debated whether the object knew we were here. If Candidate Alpha was intentional communication or just an accidental emission humans happened to intercept. But then came the spectroscopic anomaly. Taken by the Subaru telescope in Hawaii, it showed a faint chemical trace at the source region, something resembling ionized metals. That shouldn't happen naturally in such a cold region of space. Theories spiraled. A generation ship, a probe, a failed engine, a functioning one. Even the idea that the craft might be old, centuries or millennia past, drifting and broadcasting without knowing who would receive it. SETI didn't want to say the word extraterrestrial, but no one could stop the world from saying it for them.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through the cosmos, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell. And when you're ready for your next space mystery, click the video right here.